You have been lied to when it comes to sales. Most people believe that when it comes to scaling a high ticket sales team in the B2B space, that you need to focus on scripts, rebuttals, and hiring A-level talent. But the reality is the person who controls the frame actually wins the sale and doesn't have to chase down prospects. That is why today I'm pulling back the curtain on my system called the Inception Closing Framework, why sales framing beats sales talent, so that you cannot make the same mistakes that most people are making in the high ticket B2B space. My name is Dylan Starr, and I'm super excited for the first episode of this new podcast. It has been a long time coming. I'm going to be sharing all the details of everything I've ever done and tested over the years and things that are even working today currently with my clients who are selling high ticket premium offers. So if you are in the B2B space, and by business to business, I mean you are either high ticket consulting, maybe an agency owner, wealth fund, real estate management, SaaS, doesn't matter. If you are B2B and you are trying to scale to 250,000 per month and you have an actual premium offer, a high ticket premium offer, you're not selling low ticket, then you are in the right place with this podcast. And you're also in the right place with being able to implement this framework. So how did I come across this framework? Years ago, after working with multiple leaders and influencers and business owners in the space, big names like Jason Capital, I've helped scale sales teams now for the past decade plus. While I was scaling other sales teams, a guy by the name of Eduardo Joy, super awesome dude, lives in Puerto Rico, and he has a real estate company. And I actually featured him in an interview on my YouTube channel as a case study. He ended up doing 181,000 plus per month. And the challenge that he had was he needed help with building a sales process, training his team, getting his sales reps to be able to do outbound to his audience, book appointments for him and his sales team so that they can close deals and scale. The challenge was he lives in Puerto Rico and everything's in Spanish. His videos are in Spanish, his script is in Spanish, and his team speaks Spanish. And I do not speak a lick of Espanol. Nada. So when he first came to me and asked me to see if I could help, I'll be honest with you, I was a little skeptical because I don't speak any Spanish. And normally what I used to believe was that being able to develop a process and train reps was all about holding them accountable. It was all about increasing their confidence and training them on the rebuttals and the scripting. Boy, could I ever have been wrong. Well, he actually closed me on working with him. He goes, Dylan, I understand the skepticism, but think about it this way. If you pull this off, you are literally the GOAT. You are literally the best when it comes to training and scaling teams, and you will be able to pull off the impossible that no one else could ever do. He was like painting the picture. And it worked. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. That would be an awesome story to tell. So I took him on as a client and we started working together. And I just sat and thought and I said, okay, well, scripting, reviewing calls and revising everything is out the window. What's the one thing that I know that I can focus on that I think will jumpstart us to getting results? And the thing that came to mind was framing. I wanted to know, how are they framing this entire offer? How are they framing their outreach? How are they framing their sales process of taking the prospect from point A to point B? And after seeing their frame, making the right changes, we not only got him results, but he sends me a text message bragging about closing 2 deals in a day. And then he closed his 3rd one in the day. And mind you, this is for a premium $15,000 real estate coaching offer. So why is the 3 deals in one day so special? Well, because he didn't only just close 3 deals, but they closed on the same day that the rep cold called the person. So his team was able to call the prospect, book them on the calendar the same day, and collect cash that very day. That's call to cash collected in less than 8 hours, which, by the way, broke every record that I've ever had for any outbound team in the history of my training. So when this happened, literally my head was spinning. I was like, how is this possible? What's going on? It completely turned my world upside down and shifted my beliefs on holding people accountable, on training on rebuttals, on covering objection handling like everyone talks about. This really made me understand that, wow, framing is actually everything. And so next thing he wanted to know was like, well, if this works for selling this, well, it's got to be able to work for my fund, because his fund was about to launch and he wanted to get investors to invest into his real estate fund. So he said, hey, do you think that we can leverage this and I can go and get some applicants from a real estate fund? It's not ready yet, but we can at least test it out. So I was like, sure, you know what? Let's go ahead and adjust your script. Let's ask people in the qualifying process and say, hey, Would you rather be an active investor or would you be a passive investor? And if they say active, we'll sell them on the high ticket offer. If they say passive, we'll let them know that they can invest into your fund, but here's the minimum qualifications and here's the amount. So literally in 45 days, we had over 200 applicants who were pre-qualified and willing to invest a minimum of 150K into his fund. 200 applicants just from making that one adjustment and keeping the same frame. So what does this prove? This proves one thing: that the frame you choose for your sales process and your sales team's ability to control and hold that frame is significantly more important than any other skill related to sales. It is literally all that matters. It is like the 80% of focus, whereas the scripting and the rebuttals and the objection handling is like the small, like 20%. Okay, so when I say frame, like what does that mean? Instinctively in sales, there's a lot of different frames that people are using and they don't even realize that they're using them, but there's a frame for everything, right? You have things like emotional frames, social frames, logical frames, and competitive frames, right? There's a lot of them out there. Competitive frame, for example, would be highlighting advantages over your competitors to position your offer favorably, right? You're using a competition type frame, leveraging it against your competitors. It begs the question, out of all the frames that you could use and you could focus, which one would actually be the best frame? So Harvard Business Review actually did a study and they found out that buyers trust sales rep less now more than ever before. So trust has literally tanked in the space. You're probably seeing that yourself in business, right? And here's what's interesting. 88% of buyers in this study actually said that they felt pressured in the sales conversation. They felt like they were pressured and were being convinced and they didn't like it. But 72% of people said that they not only didn't feel pressure, but they felt like they were in control when they were the one being qualified to work with that business. Let me say that again. 72% of buyers felt like they were in control. Not only did not feel any pressure, but felt like they were in control when they were being qualified to work with that business. What does this mean? This means out of all the frames that we could possibly use, the golden goose frame is actually using a qualify frame, making your sales process positioned in a way to where the prospect can go through and qualify themselves to make sure they are a good fit for your offer. I mean, how much better would it be for you and your sales team if prospects were trying to convince themselves of why they were a good fit for your offer compared to you having to convince them of anything? Do you think that you'd probably make more money and be able to scale your team a lot easier? Hopefully the answer to that is yes. So this is exactly why I created the Inception Closing Framework that I'm discussing with you today, because this framework is designed to use qualify frame throughout the sales process. And so how do we actually implement this framework? Well, it's broken down into 4 phases. Phase number 1 is planting the seed. Number 2 is stacking the frame on the prospect. Number 3 is leveraging the seed. We want to leverage the seed that we already planted in the prospect's mind in our sales process. And then finally, we want to qualify the prospect. Genuinely make sure that the prospect is a good fit based off of your qualifications you have laid out. Because the last thing you want to do is make an offer to somebody who is not a good fit and is at high risk for refund and churn. Anytime I'm brought into organizations and I see their offer rate and they have a marketing issue, so they're not getting qualified people, but they're making offers every single call, I don't even have to go to the back end and ask if they have a churn issue. I already know. And 100% of the time, every single time, churn is a factor because they're just taking anyone and everybody, making offer and trying to force people through. But if you can get those qualifications dialed in and focus on only the right people for your offer, now you will retain, have higher LTV, and your sales reps will be super happy as well. So let's dive a little bit deeper into these 4 phases, what they mean, and how to implement them. So phase number 1, planting the seed. What is an actual belief that you need your ideal client to have before they ever speak to you? Like in a perfect world, if you can wave a magic wand and say, before they ever hop onto a call with us and they hop on with my sales team, what's a few beliefs that I know they need to have that will make my life 10 times easier? And, traditionally, this could be like your methodology, your new way. Like if I was an advertising company in B2B as an agency running Facebook ads, if I thought Facebook ads were the golden goose and they were better than SEO, or better than YouTube, etc. It would be a lot better if I was having conversations with people who were coming to me and selling themselves to me on why they believe Facebook ads is the best thing since sliced bread, right? I want to plant that seed early so they understand they're already sold on that belief. Because if they're sold on the belief, now I don't have to convince them during the entire conversation on why Facebook ads is the best thing, right? You want to plant the seed. And to do this, this is early in your sales process. This is why things like videos, audios, if you have a podcast, or depending on your audience that go into B2B, some people don't like watching videos. Some people like reading and doing things like ebooks and PDFs. But whatever it is, your documents, ebooks, videos, audio, you want to install this belief early in the sales process and not hop on sales calls. Now, if you're doing things like cold outreach, like cold, and you're just doing like cold calling, then typically what has to happen in that process is a longer sales cycle is you have to have an actual sales rep be the person who's instilling the belief on a call. So there's never an offer made, right? You're just instilling the belief. They accept the belief. You reschedule for later. You still promote them with content to build trust. And so the process just works, whether this is a warm audience or a cold audience. It works very well. And then once you've planted the seed, then we go into phase two. Phase two is where we stack the frame. This is where we're going to actually enforce the qualify frame by setting the agenda on the beginning of the call. Now, in sales, a lot of people like to argue about whether or not setting an agenda or doing the intro is important. Some people say it is important, others don't. I can tell you firsthand after training multiple teams over the past decade and being on thousands of sales calls myself, it is absolutely crucial and mandatory to set an agenda correctly on the call. People who say it's not mandatory don't understand what the purpose of setting an agenda is for. And the purpose is to literally stack the frame that you want onto the prospect to set the tone in the call so that way you are able to control the narrative. Period. It is literally just a battle for frame control. And it is so crucial that you get a prospect to accept the frame. Now, if you want to know like how to actually stack the frame correctly, I developed something called the Ultimate Agenda Formula. I'll put a link in the description that you can go to and download the PDF. Literally walks step by step on how to come up with the right story to tell, how to know what your qualifications are, and how to position it in the beginning of the conversation without sounding salesy. You want to make sure you're qualifying correctly. I'll put that in. You can download that, go through it yourself if you're taking sales calls, or give it to your sales reps. All right, next we jump into phase three. Phase three is where we actually are leveraging the seed. This is where we want to leverage the seed that we planted in phase one. So if I want to use a qualify frame and I'm a marketing company and I want to run Facebook ads for somebody else, this is my opportunity to be like, well, why blank and why now? Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, super curious, like out of all the things you could be doing to market, I mean, there's tons of things out there. You could be doing SEO, you could be doing organic, you could be doing YouTube, but like, why Facebook ads? What makes you think today that Facebook ads is going to be the right fit for your business? And more importantly, like, why is now the time to make that shift? Do you see how just like how crazy important that is? You see how it just completely allows you to control the narrative? And the best part is if they start justifying, you let them justify and let them sell themselves. Silence is power when it comes to sales. You don't want a bunch of sales guys who's just blah, 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 just talking their head off. You want somebody who is calm, collected, that can ask good questions, listen with intent, and more importantly, can qualify. And when done correctly, this also reverses objections. So what I mean by that is instead of just handling objections, now a lot of them you can just frame as a filter. If objections come up by saying things like, yeah, that's exactly why we don't just work with anyone. Or, yeah, most people aren't a fit for this. I mean, let's see if you actually are. So now your objections become more of a filtration system because again, your goal here isn't to just sell every single person. It is to qualify and get the good fits in who are going to stay and retain the longest. So that way you can scale accordingly without churn and trying to avoid refunds. And the final phase, number 4, is simply qualifying. So this is where the skill part sets in. Skill. Your sales rep's ability to be able to maintain control of holding frame is what's going to make or break them. For example, if I'm stacking a frame on somebody and say, hey, like, here's the qualifications we're looking for our agency, people who are doing blah, 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 right? They must have a brand, have already posted consistently because we're super worried about people who are adherent to being consistent on content and we don't like working with those people, whatever your qualifications are. If I list out my qualifications and saying, we want to see if this is an actual good fit, and if we're 100% confident that we can help your business grow with Facebook ads, then the moment later in a call where I get excited or they say something I like as a sales guy, and I say, oh, yeah, we can absolutely help with that. Oh, it's going to be such a no brainer. Like, yeah, we're going to help you grow and we're going to, oh, yeah. Oh, what's your goal? Oh, dude, we can fly past that. The moment you say these type of salesy things, instinctively, what a lot of sales guys don't realize is they're actually breaking frame. Like, think about it. If I'm saying the purpose of today is to see if this is a good fit and qualify, but I'm just telling you, oh yeah, no worries. Like, we can definitely help with that. I've already snapped the frame in half. It's gone. You've already done the damage. You did not hold frame. So you would never say anything. You would hold a curiosity type tone and really understand to see, hey, I don't know if we can help yet. I still have more questions. We still got to gather more information. So that's kind of where the skill part comes in of what you're focusing on when it comes to holding frame. I've been with sales organizations who already have great talent on their team. People are closing, 25, 30%. And just the other day, I hopped on a one-on-one with a guy in another organization. He's like, hey, can you hop on? Can you give us some advice? Let's do some role plays. I really want to teach him framing. And you could tell he has tons of experience. Tonality was great. I could tell he's been in the space a long time. And that one call literally made him jump to a 35% close rate. Like, the epiphanies that he had just from role playing of understanding, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. I haven't been holding frame this entire time, was enough to just jumpstart. That's how powerful framing is, right? Could I have sat there and been like, let's cover exactly how to handle this objection and say this exact sentence and let's focus on your tonality. It's like, that's what everyone focuses on. If I can teach you how to hold frame, I can get exponential results, period. So if you got value from this episode, here's what I want you to do today. Number one, on your next sales call or your team's next sales call, don't pitch first. Actually use a qualify frame and just see what happens. Watch how fast the dynamic shifts in the entire conversation and how fluid it is for actually bringing in good fits into your business. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe to the show and share it with someone you know that is struggling to grow their business. If you're struggling with anything in your business, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or LinkedIn at Dylan Starr Official. Shoot me a DM and we can break it down together. Today, we talked about the qualify frame and how powerful it is in sales today. But what happens when you actually build a system around that framework that scales? On the next episode, we're going to go deep into how we scale Jason Capital's offer from 0 to 1.4 million in only 4 months. Don't miss out.